All right. First rule of this channel: we do not talk about this channel. Second rule of this channel: this is not legal advice. So, the last group of running backs that I want to talk about going into 2024 rookie draft is going to be like the handcuffs, the capped upside guys that are. They're not going to win you a league outside of like getting lucky, or something else going on that's like probably not going to be predictable in this group. And it's actually kind of funny that today of this group that we have the signing with the Dolphins. They re-signed Raheem Mostert. I can't find contract details right now, but it looks like they're going to pay him more now this year in 2024 and then move some of that money into next year when he's probably not going to be on the team. He's 31 right now. I think he's going to be 32 next year. That's way over the running back apex. More than likely, some of that wear and tear he hasn't gotten on his body because he's been injured. But they are going to bring him back in next year. This is probably going to lower the overall value of Devin Achane. And who knows how these guys are going to work out. The efficiency for Mostert went down as the season went on. So there is probably going to be some like 1A, 1B. They're going to give him some run. I don't particularly expect him to be able to make it through the season. Again, he didn't last year, even though he was able to stay healthy. That efficiency dropped to such an extent by the end of the season. And then he's going to be battling through opportunity with Achane. But we are going to talk about these guys a little bit. Sleeper's down right now, so I can't bring those up. But if you just listen to this, then more power to you. You're not going to be missing anything. That's why I have the pictures of the handcuffs going on. So let's talk about these guys a little bit going into the season. Right now, this is ESPN coming off of March 22nd. Like there's already some massive inconsistencies with these things. But the other guy to talk about in this, they have Jahmyr Gibbs listed as running back 7. And if you're going to go out and you're going to spend running back 7 price on Jahmyr Gibbs, like you're really hoping that's like that he can finish in that spot. Like I imagine that he's going to be a really high end RB2 again going into next year. I don't see a way that he really is able to get the opportunity with David Montgomery coming back. And that would mean like I just don't know how he returns on running back 7 unless you get lucky and David Montgomery goes down. And again, even if you pick up Gibbs, you probably have to handcuff him with Montgomery. And the reason behind that is anybody who picks up David Montgomery and then Jahmyr Gibbs goes down is going to have like a shake and bake running back 1. So like that's why I would put them where they are. I don't think any of these running back situations are going to be changed by the draft because they're already crowded running back backfields. So again, like this would be the epitome of a guy that I think he's going to be overvalued in Gibbs, and I would just stay away from him. I don't see how the hype train after how he finished last year is going to have his value drop in the draft relative to where he goes. And that's the type of guy I'm looking for, is a guy that's undervalued. So I know I can get upside out of him, even though they may not win me a league based off the likelihood of where they will finish. And again, I think Jahmyr Chase would probably be closer to like running back 12, 13 in that range than running back 7. But I just don't see a way that he finishes that in such a capacity to go up against Christian McCaffrey or a Breece Hall or Bijan, Kyron Williams, those type of guys. I just don't see how it's going to happen next year in that range. The other guys that I have written down in this one are Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. And I don't even know, Walker's were ranked running back 16. So again, like if I'm going to go out and I'm going to get Kenneth Walker, I'm probably looking at spending like a 3rd or 4th round pick in a lot of leagues. Like maybe I get lucky, he falls to the 5th. But again, in order for me to maximize a return outside of maybe getting a little bit lucky with a low end RB1, I'm probably looking at some play between a mid to a high end RB2. I need to get a corresponding injury. Like one of these guys, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, need to go down. And I'm trying to see ahead of time. Zach Charbonnet is listed as running back 37. I don't know how these two guys are going to shake out. And again, from a fantasy standpoint, that idea that, if I can't predict it, I don't know how valuable it is. And again, these guys have to go together. So I can get a Zach Charbonnet. And this isn't just a conversation about handcuffing. It's about owning the backfields. Like I have to know how they're going to shake out. So it's not a bad idea if, in the case of Kenneth Walker, his value is down. I can take a swing at him because I can also go get Zach Charbonnet in the draft. Because even if I don't get a Kenneth Walker, picking up Zach Charbonnet early on in a draft, picking up David Montgomery going into a season and holding onto that guy as a lottery ticket on the bottom of my bench is probably a better idea to go into other than like trying to guess on other running backs that I know don't have the upside of an RB1 if their handcuff goes down. So we already talked a little bit about Raheem Mostert. I have Devin A-Chain would be in this area. I think they have him in the 20s on ESPN. I can't go pull these guys up. That's why I'm slightly not prepared today. But anyway, another guy would be Devin A-Chain in this category. He's a running back 17 on ESPN right now. That's probably about where he should be at. Raheem Mostert and him are probably going to be around the same area as those like potentially having those RB1 spike weeks, and then they're going to have these other inconsistent weeks. And again, you still have Jeff Wilson that's still signed with the Dolphins, and then you have Solomon Ahmed. I don't see how the draft's going to change these guys' status. And again, trying to guess how these guys are relative to maybe picking them up and knowing that I have an RB2 with the possibility of a league winner if I get lucky with an injury. And I don't like going into the season, crossing my fingers, hoping a guy gets injured in order for me to, upgrade something. And you see right there in the same range, you have Ramondre Stevenson, and he's going to be an RB2. They brought in Antonio Gibson. Gibson's probably going to get that change of pace, receiving work. And then Ramondre is going to be like that 2-down thumper. He's going to get a majority of the work, but they're capped as RB2s. DeAndre Swift is going to be in this area. They still have Roshan coming back. They have Khalil Herbert. I'm going to guess Khalil Herbert is going to get shipped. That's what I've been guessing all offseason. And then the final guy in this group that I have, Javonte Williams. And again, I think he's coming off the injury, and last year he's going to be a relatively safe RB2, but like safe RB2s don't win me my leagues. Right now, I think he would be undervalued at running back 32, so he would be a guy that I would be targeting. But I also think that he would be one of the few guys that I could definitely see Denver bringing a guy in, because I don't know how much they're going to invest in him after the season. They still have Samadre Perine and that other running back that I just don't remember off the top of my head that came on strong at the end of last season. Then you're moving into the Jalen Warren and Najee Harris range. And again, like those are the two guys that are going to be low end RB2s, and you're hoping on an injury. That's on top of not knowing how Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are going to shake out in this particular case. I don't know. And it's really going to depend on both of their values going into your draft. Jalen Warren's running back 2. It's a little high for him. And I bet Najee has got to be about in the same area. Najee is running back 27. Jalen Warren, you're probably going to have to pick up both these guys. So you're looking at Jalen Warren, maybe you get him in the 5th, probably looking at having to take him in a 4th in this ESPN league. That's too rich for me. Najee is going to be in that like 5th to 6th round range, I'm going to imagine. And you need an injury to maximize these guys on a week-to-week basis, have them more usable. And again, that is a good strategy in fantasy football to realize that there are backfields that I can control. And therefore, if I get the right injury, I can win a league. But these would be more in my replacement level running backs, maybe like desperation 3 or running back 2, because I spent my capital someplace else in a draft, and knowing that these guys go together. Again, that's why I have the good old handcuff there. Other guys to be looking at going into the season that I don't think are going to be affected by the draft are going to be your Tajay Spears and your Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard signed that 3-year, $24 million contract. So that's going to be like starting money for Tony Pollard. But Tajay Spears looked really good going into the season. Tajay Spears running back 25. And that's a little surprising to me based off of March 22nd. Tony Pollard's running back 26. They're right next to each other in the ESPN draft. And that's probably where they should be going. They're probably both going to be moderately usable on a week-to-week basis. These would be two guys that I would be definitely looking at, because they would have somewhere around league-winning upside if one of them goes down. And you're kind of betting on Will Levis and the change in the coaching staff there. Not a bad idea. I will be ranking these guys after the draft, and I will be putting these guys together. I don't think that you can draft these guys individually and really have a good chance to win a league outside of like if they really fall to those double-digit 10th, 11th, 12th, or 13th rounds of your drafts. Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, and then they still going to have Chris Rodriguez coming back. And again, I think you're going to be needing multiple injuries in this backfield to really have a chance. Like Eckler's probably going to be flirting in PPR leagues, running back 28. He's probably going to be flirting around, running back two land. Again, he's older. He's had a little bit of wear on tear on the tires. Don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be like there. That's a lot to think about, on top of the fact that he's going to be battling with Brian Robinson. Like, these are just tough roads to win with these running backs, and you're more looking at going from a approach, a strategy of taking advantage of other positions, and then just putting these guys on the bottom of your bench in managed leagues to be able to win. So otherwise, like, I would normally just take these guys off my my board to win my league, because I just don't think there's enough upside there with them. And then Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Zach Moss did sign that 2-year, $8 million contract, so like that's gonna be like usable running back money that the Bengals gave him. It just means that, like, they're not invested in him. Zach Moss, running back 30. Chase Brown on this one is running back 41. So like, these guys are guys that I like more if I'm going to package guys together at the bottom of my draft. It really depends. Like I said, I'm in my two money leagues are one's a snake draft and one is a auction draft. So the auction draft, I can plan ahead to take two guys together in a way that I don't necessarily have the luxury of doing in my snake draft. My snake draft, I have a little bit better strategy when it comes to how I'm going to attack the front half of my draft. It really depends on what my draft position is, how I'm going to go about doing that. But I don't normally plan to go into a draft knowing that I have to put guys together, and I don't want to be in a position where I know that I'm an injury away from throwing my season away. I also don't like to do that either. Just going on. And then finally, to finish this off, we have the Browns backfield, which is going to be an absolute mess. And I don't know how many in some type of managed leagues any of these guys are going to get drafted. Nick Chubb right now, I like I said, I would be surprised that he comes back and he's in good shape. He's running back 31 overall. I did look up Deontay Foreman. He's 1 year, 129 or 1.29 million. Only 3.335 is dead cap, so that they're not really on the hook for him if they decide to go a different direction. They don't really like him in camp overall. And then you're looking at if you're gonna go with Nick Chubb and you're gonna be sneaky, and everybody's getting more savvy in fantasy football. They know ahead of time that if they try and use the waiver wire as kind of that unofficial bottom of their bench, someone else can just snap that guy up and sit him on the bottom of your roster. You have to have your lottery tickets coming in to the season drafted, because other people know who these guys are and they'll just sit on people's benches. Being able to go out there and get like a Justin Fields like 2 years ago, and then have him on the waiver wire when he starts going off, like that. The way to win your league is to have that guy on your roster a week ahead of time. In this case, everybody's going to be looking for your Kyron Williams this year, and having them on the waiver wire is probably going to be. I could tell you from my experience the last 10 years that it's been harder and harder to get one over on my opponents. They know who these guys are, and that means I have to know who they are ahead of time. So if I'm going to be thinking about a Nick Chubb or a Jerome Ford, who's running back 42 on ESPN, or even a Deontay Foreman, like, people know that they can go out and they can take a Deontay Foreman and have like a shake and bake RB2 to start the season, and they could do it late. So you're not going to be able to necessarily go, oh, this guy's going to slip through on your waivers. So anyway, these are the type of guys that, like, I tend to just take off my board almost entirely, because they're going to have such limited road to win me a league. And I also don't think that anybody is going to get drafted out of the rookie draft to really step in and change the evaluation of how these guys function. Like Khalil Herbert getting moved from the Bears, is it going to necessarily change my opinion of DeAndre Swift too much because Roshan is there? And with Khalil Herbert not getting moved, I'm not going to touch DeAndre Swift anyway. Regardless, I just think that's too messy of a backfield. So if they bring in a fourth guy, it doesn't really change my overall expectation of that backfield in this case. So these are the group of guys that I don't think is going to be changed by a running back brought in one way or another. I don't think it's not going to lower or raise my opinion of this backfield. These backfields, they already have a hard road to win me a league. So like, this is why I said my process is I'm already looking for guys going into the draft that are undervalued. I can take most of these guys in this tier that I just talked about off my board. And then I'm only going to be focusing on these handful of running backs outside of that and narrowing that down to, 5 or 6 that I'm going to be targeting in a draft based off of value. So anyway, I may come back tomorrow and rank these guys like 1 to whatever. And the running backs I talked about today, I would rank together in a group because I have to be able to spend the capital to get both those guys to win me my league. Because if someone else has the opposite strategy, and I would take advantage of this, if someone doesn't pick up their handcuff, I will pick up their handcuff. That would be something that I would look at doing at the bottom of my draft to take advantage. Like, these are the guys that I know I can get at value that have a road to win me a league. So, looking at this, like an Antonio Gibson with the Patriots is a guy that I would snap up in the 13th round of a draft over probably some of the other guys that are available, because I know there's a road for Antonio Gibson to win me a league with a Ramondre injury. So anyway, that's about all I got, and hopefully I'll come back soon.